In the last class, we discussed Rayleigh method to obtain the natural frequency of a system or to calculate the critical speed of a shaft. So in this class, we look at flexibility influence coefficient. So what do we mean by this? It is nothing but which you already know, that is Aij. This we discussed in the last video for Rayleigh method, where I is the point at which we measure the deflection and J is the point of application of load. So the unit load is applied at point J and the deflection is measured at point I. So we'll be using this concept, and this is called as flexibility influence coefficients. So why is this called as flexibility? Because its unit is meter per Newton. So stiffness is nothing but Newton per meter and flexibility is reverse of that. So it is meter per Newton. So here we'll use this concept of flexibility influence coefficients to determine the natural frequency of a multi-degree freedom system. So this is a multi-degree of freedom system where x1 and x2 and x3 are the displacements. So how do we use this concept of flexibility influence coefficients to determine natural frequency? Before we go for determining the natural frequency of a multi-degree of freedom system, we'll understand how this is to be found out in this kind of a problem. So A11 means a unit load is applied at point 1 and the displacement is measured at point 1. So the displacement is measured at point 1 with a unit load applied at point 1. So when you apply, say, a unit load of 1 to this mass, what happens? This spring stretches, okay, and this whole portion has a rigid body moment. What is a rigid body moment? Rigid body motion, that is no deformation. Okay, so there is no deformation in this spring or in this spring or anywhere in this portion. Okay, so what happens? Only this spring stretches because of a unit force applied at this point. So this spring stretches and this whole thing moves. So what will be A11? It will be equal to 1 divided by K1. So it is nothing but the inverse of the stiffness. Okay, flexibility is inverse of stiffness. So suppose if we have the unit force applied at this point, okay, so we'll make it this as 0 and this is also 0, and we have unit force applied at this point. What will happen then? Then if this has to move, then these two springs have to stretch, and this portion, this spring and this mass will have a rigid body motion. So only these two springs stretch and this portion moves along with this M2. So A22 will be equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. Okay, suppose if this is made 0 and a unit force is applied at this point, what happens? All three springs will stretch. Okay, so A33, meaning displacement is measured at point 3, load is applied at point 3. It will be equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2 plus 1 by K3. Okay, so suppose if you want to know what is A21, that is displacement measured at point 2, but load is applied at point 1. Okay, so F is equal to 1 over here. F is equal to 1 over here. What will happen for the displacement at this point? So you are applying the load at 1 and measuring the displacement at 2. So when you apply load at 1, what happens? Only this spring stretches. So the amount this one moves, that much this also moves, because this whole thing is rigid body motion when you apply load over here. Okay, so A21 will be equal to A11. This is because when you apply a load here and measure the displacement here, how much ever this moves, that is A11, that will be equal to A21, because this whole thing is a rigid body motion when the load is applied over here. And we know from the Maxwell reciprocal theorem that A21 is equal to A12. Okay, so A21 is equal to A12. Now we look at some other point, that is A32. What is A32? A32 means what? Displacement is measured at point 3, load is applied at point 2. So a unit load is applied at point 2. So F is equal to 1 here. F is equal to 1 here. When you do that, what is the displacement at this point? So when a unit load is applied at this point, what is the displacement here? So what will it be? It will be equal to nothing but, when you apply a load at point 2 and measure the displacement at point 3, that means only these two springs are going to stretch, and this portion, this K3 and this mass is going to have a rigid body motion. Okay, so this spring and this portion will have a rigid body motion. Only this K1 and K2 will stretch. So it will be equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. So A32 is nothing but what? A32 is nothing but A22. So Maxwell reciprocal theorem, A32 is equal to A23. Okay, so next we'll take up A13. Okay, so displacement is measured at 1 and the load is applied at point 3. Okay, so what will happen? When you apply a load at a unit load at point 3, how much this moves? How much this moves? It will be equal to the extension of this spring K1. So A13 is equal to 1 divided by K1. Okay, so A31 is equal to A13 by Maxwell reciprocal theorem. But A31, if you have to understand conceptually, it means the displacement is measured at point 3 and load is applied at point 1. Okay, so you're measuring the displacement at point 3 and applying the load at point 1. So F is equal to 1 here, and you're measuring the displacement at M3. So this is 0, this is 0, and this is 1. So what will happen? It will be, this whole thing will be a rigid body motion and only this spring stretches. So it will be again 1 by K1 only. So either you can write by the Maxwell reciprocal theorem that A13 is equal to A31, or even conceptually you can understand that it is nothing but equal to 1 by K1. So if you have to write the flexibility influence coefficient matrix, Aij is equal to A11, A12, A13, A21, A22, A23, A31, A32, A33. So we know what is A11, we know what is A12, we know what is A13, A21, A22, A23, A31, A32 and A33. So we have determined all the flexibility influence coefficients. So what is the purpose of doing this? That we'll discuss in the next video, because the use of this is in finding the natural frequency of a multi-degree of freedom system. So if you want to find the natural frequency of a multi-degree of freedom system, this flexibility influence coefficients will help. So now we have seen that A11 is equal to 1 by K1. So if you want to prove this, if you want to prove how A11 is equal to 1 by K1, so we'll draw the free body diagram. So this is M1, okay, for this for the first mass, okay, for the first mass. So this would be minus K1 A11, and a unit load is applied to this side, and this would be minus K2 into A11 minus A21. This is nothing but like writing minus K2 into x1 minus x2. So it is similar to that. So a unit force is applied at 1, so you write it like this. So if you simplify this, minus K1 A11 minus K2 into A11 minus A21 plus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so this is one equation. And if you take the second mass M2, now the unit load is applied at point 1 for now. So if you write the free body diagram for this, it will be minus K2 into A22 A21 minus A11, okay, minus K2 into A21. The load is applied at point 1 minus K2 into A21 minus A11, and that's all. So minus K2 into A21 minus A11 is equal to 0. Since K2 is not equal to 0, A21 is equal to A11, or A21 minus A11 equal to 0, and A21 is equal to A11. So if you put A21 is equal to A11 over here, this term will get cancelled, and you'll be left with K1 A11 is equal to 1, and A11 is equal to 1 divided by K1. Okay, so this is how you do this. Similarly, we can derive for the other terms. So try this out to derive for the other terms. When you apply a unit load at mass 2 and see what you get, and apply a unit force at mass 3 and see what you get. So when you do this, you have to get whatever we have got here by conceptually we have got this, and this is the derivation for one of the A11. Okay, so we have derived for A11, but if you have to derive for the remaining things, So we have also said a21 is equal to a11, and which is equal to a12. Okay, so a21 is equal to a11 is equal to a12. So this much we have derived, and remaining you just try out and see if you can understand this derivation or if you can understand this conceptually. Thank you.